How's it going, YouTube? My name is Christian with Plan Your Federal Retirement, back with another video with our All About FERS series. Today, I'm going to be talking about Medicare IRMAA once again. I recently did a video talking about the hidden tax in retirement, in which I went through Medicare IRMAA tax and how that all worked. Today, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the numbers with you guys and try to see if we can understand Medicare IRMAA a little bit better. I kind of geek out when it comes to taxes, and everyone here at Plan Your Federal Retirement does the same. So we just want to make sure we can share that knowledge with you guys as well. Now, first thing I'll say when it comes to Medicare IRMAA is the Part B premiums that you're going to be paying is based on your modified adjusted gross income, right? We'll talk about that here in a second. But for 2024, your modified adjusted gross income is actually going to be used for the 2022 year. So whatever your modified adjusted gross income was 2 years ago in 2022 is what's going to determine how much you would be paying for your Medicare Part B premiums in 2024. And that's going to continue this way. It's always going to look back 2 years. So in 2025, it's going to look back into 2023. So what is our modified adjusted gross income? Well, it's going to include, your pension. It's going to include Social Security. It's going to include TSP distributions, IRA distributions. It's going to include, Roth conversions. It's going to include rental income if you have it, dividend income, interest income, even capital gains. So all of this gets added up. That would be, your gross income. And then there are certain deductions that come from that. Now, it's not going to include the standard or itemized, whichever one that you file on your tax return. It's not going to include either the standard or the itemized deductions. So those are not the deductions that I'm talking about that gets subtracted from your gross income. So once we know what your modified adjusted gross income is, it's very important that we're distinguishing the modified adjusted gross income or your adjusted gross income from what your taxable income is. Because when you have your taxable income, you take your gross income minus the different deductions that you have, and then that's how you arrive at your taxable income. Whereas your modified adjusted gross income and even your adjusted gross income is determined before the itemized or standard deduction is taken out. So it's a big distinction there. Your taxable income is really going to be based in figuring out what your marginal tax bracket is going to be based on, right? Whether you're in the 0, 10, 12 plus percent. So let's look at this chart here for a second. So like I mentioned before, your Medicare IRMAA that you have for 2024 is actually going to be based on your modified adjusted gross income for 2022. Now, 2024's Medicare Part B premiums is $174.70 per person per month. That's what the base premiums are for Medicare per person per month for 2024. So then if we look at this chart, we can see whether we're single or if we're married filing joint. So if we're single and our modified adjusted gross income is less than or equal to $103,000, or if we're married filing joint and we're $206,000 or less, then there's no additional Medicare IRMAA. And that Medicare IRMAA, just to point out, stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. That's what IRMAA stands for. So in this case, there isn't an additional IRMAA. If we're under that 206 or 103, we're going to be paying $174.70 a month. If we're in that next bracket, we're above that 206. If we are married filing joint, so if we're somewhere between 206 and 258, or if we're single, 103 and 129, there's an additional $69.90 added, and that would be considered our IRMAA surcharge per person per month. So it's the $174.70 plus this additional $69.90 a month if we're in this second tier for this Medicare. And then the numbers keep continuing up. So right, if we're between 129 and 161 or 258 and 322, if we're married filing joint, it's an additional $174.70. And the numbers continue depending on what your modified adjusted gross income is. So much so that once we get to the highest Medicare tier, that $419.30 plus this $174.70 is right around $600 total for Medicare, right? So I think it's helpful to visualize this a little bit better, like I said, and walk us through those numbers and seeing what these brackets look like. These numbers have changed every year. They tend to go up with inflation. Now, what we will see for this 2025, what we'll be paying for 2025, those numbers haven't come out as of April of when I'm recording this video. Typically, they come out at the end of the year, but there's no promise that they're also going to increase as well. So we just have to wait and see what next year's Medicare IRMAA will be, next year's Medicare Part B premiums will be. And if they go up, then we get to make adjustments. And in particular, especially when we're doing tax planning for our clients, maybe if you're watching this and you're thinking about doing some tax planning, maybe doing some Roth conversions, the Medicare IRMAA is going to be very important to determine how much makes sense to do for a Roth conversion, especially understanding these rules a little bit better, knowing that it's not your taxable income and that it's instead based on your modified adjusted gross income, understanding that it goes back by 2 years to see what your income was 2 years ago. And if we know what the Medicare IRMAA surcharge is for 2024, but it's based on our year income from 2022, then the tax planning that we do in 2024 is really going to be affecting your 2026 Medicare IRMAA eligibility, right? How much in 2026 it will look like. So the things that we do today will affect what it looks like in the future in 2 years from now for Medicare. And that's what I wanted to also talk about as well and help you understand that a little bit more. So hopefully this video is helpful as you're thinking about some tax planning, as we're thinking about just understanding Medicare IRMAA and how it all works. If you have questions related to this, feel free to drop your question below in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you get our latest videos and content that we're putting out. And until next time, happy planning.